myself, like my name is Arnold Parker. Everyone calls me AP. Been on the department for I think 14 years now. I'm born and raised here in Vegas, so hey, here just to chill. And this is my partner.
I'm Anthony Edwards. Everybody call me Big 12. I call myself Big 12. But nah. The kids definitely refer to me as Big 12. I'm originally from Compton, California. I've been out here for about 8 years. Been with the department for like 5 years. And we just making it happen, man. Trying to bridge that gap with the community. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I am Priscilla Scott. I'm the coordinator over Becker Tech. You guys are in our prized possession podcast studio. So, and then recording an episode. It's called Discover Las Vegas is the name of our podcast. So welcome, you guys.
Thank you.
And yeah, we're super excited. So I've been with the department for 22 years. I started young. I started really young. In every position that I've held, I've been the youngest at the time and the youngest of my time. So that's always been pretty cool. And then I'll let Phil introduce himself.
Phil just disappeared on. He's like, hey, we're in the middle of a podcast, but I'll take my own timeout break.
What's good? Philip Payne, born and raised here in the city. Went to Western High School. Ended up going to UNLV. Got to play some professional football for a little bit, very little bit. Been with Parks and Rec and here at Becker Tech for a little under a year or so. But this department raised me as a kid, so I grew up at Doolittle, played under all the Parks and Recs, basketball, hoop, football, et cetera, et cetera. So it's crazy to be on the other side of the fence now.
Man. That's dope. Hey, so Philip, you said you born and raised Vegas. Priscilla, you born and raised Vegas also?
No.
All right, so Philip, before we start the show, man, because I'm also a Vegas native, born and raised, Sunrise Hospital.
That's crazy. Me too.
Sunrise, okay, you know what I'm saying? So we got that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, Vegas is small. I would assume y'all was born at the same time.
You're like, which one? It's just Sunrise. Nobody want to be born at Valley Hospital, so it had to be Sunrise.
Man, it's either that or the Suites, man. I don't know where.
Hey, the Suites didn't even exist when I was growing up, man. Hey, but being a homegrown person, what does it mean? What does it mean to be homegrown from Vegas to you?
Shoot, this is where all my family is. So I mean, this is where I got all the love growing up, all the love from friends, playing sports, especially playing at UNLV, and so just being able to put on for the city as an athlete,
right?
And then being able to help grow the participants in the community. The same community that I grew up in that's all love for me. You know?
Yeah, dope.
It's crazy, especially now. We got some sports teams.
Real.
It's a whole different feel, a whole different vibe to the city now. So it's now other people want to be from Vegas.
I'll tell you what, man. This is the biggest Vegas dude I know right here, man. I've never seen somebody get so much love in this city. And you take a lot of pride in the city, and I like that. You be riding around, you think this dude was the mailman. We ride around, everybody knowing, oh, hey, AP, Officer AP. I'm like, yeah, okay, this is your city. Okay.
No, I always say growing up in Vegas is a small town. Just like you, I grew up going to Doolittle, walking down the street. I'm from the west side, right? Instead of saying from the neighborhood, I'm from the west side. So, and my people been here for forever. So, if you don't know me, you know my mama. If you don't know my mama, you know my daddy. You know my daddy, you know my grandmother, and so on. So everyone knows somebody from somebody. So it's always been a small town for me. And I just laughing about even with California, I grew up, competing in sports, and the standard was California. Yeah. So it's like you get that.
Take the walls off that.
We love each other when we're together. But it's like, hey, if you competing at anything at a high level, California's a standard. So when you see them, they think they better than us. So it's cool to see people from all over coming in, man. Even our California brothers and sisters.
Yeah, man.
So AP, what are you most proud of?
What I'm most proud of?
Being a native.
Being a native is actually saying I'm a native. Because growing up, like I said, Vegas was a small town. Before, when I grew up, you can get anywhere in 10 minutes. And so therefore we always, the standard was everyone else. Like we always was like, oh man, I wish I was from California, or I wish I was from New York, or I wish I was from Chicago or something like that, right? Because they had their basketball teams, their football teams. You know, the greatest people in sports either came from California, like you had Carl Lewis in track, like he was from California or whatever, and this person from Texas. So you're like, you know what? Like it was always cool to look at somebody else, and we never had nothing homegrown. So, you know, so now as you get older and all the experience that you have in life, like going to college, I played college football too, just like you, in professional ball. When you can say, yeah, I'm from Vegas, they say nobody from Vegas. He's like, well, I'm from Vegas. So the proud is to say, like, I'm from Vegas because I seen everyone that grew up from here. We talking about Harold Limited with Mac and Booker and, you know, just going to Doolittle. Like, you know, like everybody know Anthony Manor, but he was Nene then. He was a kid that somebody we looked up to back in the day. You know, like we had the Kappa League and stuff like that. So you got Larry Weekley. You got everybody know who Bombay is. You know, so it's history running back and forth through your head to say, like, you know what, like. It's so important to be proud of where you're from, no matter where you're from, or so proud to be. It's so important being proud of who you are. Also, whether if you grew up poor, you grew up rich, black, white, whatever. It's like be proud of who you are and what you are, because it's so much that come from where you come from. You know, so that's why I said the best thing about being from Vegas is being from Vegas.
So how long have you been here?
About 8 years.
About 8 years. What's the biggest difference that you've seen?
Well, the growth in this city. Man, it's crazy. It's just the amount of houses that are getting built here, the amount of people that are coming here. It's very diverse. I think that's a blessing in itself. Like every neighborhood to me look like a melting pot. You know how they usually say, like, this side of town this is the Hispanic side of town, this is the black side of town, this is the Caucasian side of town. I feel like everywhere I go, it's starting to seem like more of a melting pot. I think that's really dope.
That's cool.
Okay.
What about you? Where you from, Priscilla? You didn't. Where are you originally from?
So I was originally from San Jose, Costa Rica.
Oh, awesome.
We moved here when I was in first grade.
Nice.
So English was not my native language. I learned to speak English, read, write, all of that in first grade.
Wow.
So, yeah. And we didn't grow up that far from here. Mm-hmm. We were like off of Jones in the 95.
Okay.
We used to walk everywhere when we were kids. My son does not play in the front yard on his own.
So you kind of a Vegas baby too.
I am. I don't have any memories of living anywhere but here.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, and it's changed. It's definitely changed. It's grown. You're right about that. So,
I always think about like the Vegas people, like the homegrown Vegas people, right? Because I'm always mind blown with like where I live at. I remember driving there and like it was nothing, and then like 3 years now, it's this big development. I be thinking like I know the Vegas people be mind blown, like, man, where did all this come from, right? Because the amount of growth I've seen in 8 years, you've been here your whole life. So I'm like, you didn't see the fall of casinos, the build of new casinos.
it used to be a show.
Yeah.
For real,
Time
right?
Something closed.
Yeah.
Fireworks.
Blowing up, yeah.
Exploded.
Yeah.
Now they just paint it and make it look.
I know.
Pass
So
it
much
to the
is
next
different.
developer.
Yeah.
Oh, for real. For real. So I know you guys have your technology center here. What's the location too? 'Cause you guys know the address better than I do.
2221 Maverick. We're off
Okay.
of Jones and Smoke Ranch.
So like moving to this new technology direction with youth, like why is it so important to kind of go in that direction right now, you think?
Because it's relevant.
Mm-hmm.
It's relatable. Like, I think most of us that have kids know whether you like it, love it, hate it, your kids are playing video games.
Man.
Right.
They're on YouTube, they're swiping, they're doing reels, they're doing all that stuff. So you have to stay relevant if you want to be able to connect and to bring them in. And if you can't speak their language or drive them in the way that they need to be, then there's no point in investing in buildings and community centers and trying to make a difference because they're not coming in.
Right.
Right.
So this is really important because they all want to be here.
Right. So, cause you know how like a lot of like if you go through like different like TikToks or Instagram, people have their like little short little reels. They say, well, if you're a parent and your kid is watching TV for so long or playing video games for so long and da da da, what would you say to them? Like, do you think sometimes like social media, stuff like that, could actually benefit kids also, instead of just saying like, hey, you spend too many hours here? Because like I always say, we all learn different. So it's like, hey, if technology is your language, you think it'd be okay to spend a few hours on that more than just maybe once, like, an hour a day? It might be okay to spend 3-4 hours a day, like no different from like if you play basketball, your parent might say, hey, get up in the morning, start dribbling that basketball, or go watch this film right here. At the school, I want to see you dribble the ball behind the back and stuff like that, to where we always say invest time. Or if you're academic, like, hey, go read. I need you to read about 3 or 4 books by the end of the summer. To where we always tell kids to invest, because we know, hey, knowledge is power. But sometimes we talk about technology, we don't see that as knowledge. So like, what advice would you give the parents where kids have a passion for technology or esports or anything like that?
So one, we're like still a standard rec center, right?
Right.
So we're just smaller and have a lot cooler stuff. But as a parent, I would tell them, like, I see it in my own child.
Right.
Because, so I have a 6-year-old, and last week Phil said to me, he's in here so often that we have a drone program. It starts at 12 years old. My son can fly a drone better than some of the 12-year-olds.
Man,
and he's 6.
Amazing.
And he asked me last week, he's like, Mom, can you sign me up for a DJ class? And in my head, I'm thinking, like, he's good at reading. He's like very advanced, but I'm thinking, like, what can you really do? I signed him up. I'm like, let's try it.
Right.
And like, to watch him, like, on that board, there's probably like 100, 200 knobs. And to watch him like know what to do and how to flip it and how to control and all of the effects, I'm like, there's nothing wrong that can come from that. Now, as a parent, it's important to talk to them, to stay engaged and to educate them. Like, I'm not just going to let him have run-of-the-mill on YouTube and who knows what is, like, popping up. Yeah. So some of that, too, is just having some involvement, and that's with anything. Because you could drop your kid off at the park and tell them go run laps, and they don't know that someone in the back bathroom brought a joint for them.
Right.
Right? But if a parent is there, whether it's on a football field or right next to them as they're on YouTube or whatever that is, you can navigate through whatever challenge or unwanted, unfiltered content comes through. But that's anywhere, physically or on the web.
Right.
Because there's so many avenues that you can go in regards to utilizing these things that maybe seemed as wasteful or aimless times. But for those that utilize it in the right way, you can create a life.
Right. And is that what you guys teach here? Is like when kids come into you guys' facility, is that what they get the opportunity to learn? Is what everything you just kind of talked about?
100%. So like right now we have a content creation camp going on where the kid is literally learning about branding, marketing, engagement, because even in regards to those social medias, right, it's not just enough to just post your content. You have to engage with the people that are watching your content, and then that's how do you build up a following, and even all the other stuff that goes into creating that content. So the voiceover stuff, the video production stuff, how to make your pictures look crisp, how to make the lines in the background look nice, and how to attract those people to follow or to watch your content. So there's a lot of aspects and a lot of avenues when it comes to technology, and I think, we tell parents all the time that we grew up at the wrong time.
Man.
Because it's like, dude, you was teaching me some of this stuff at that time, man. Who knows?
Well, and esports is only a fraction of what we do. Mm-hmm. Like, we've got video production, music production. We have, like, the DJing classes. We have 3D printing, coding. Like, the list goes on. Drones. Right. And our staff uses curriculum-based. Like, it's not just parents drop the kids off at the door and you're like, okay, go play NBA 2K for 6 hours. See you later. Like, they're in here being guided through things. And some of our staff will talk to the kids about, like, just because they're your friend on social media doesn't mean it's a real person. So we start educating them on some of the safety aspects of it too. So I think when you add in not just all the transferable skills that Phil talked about, but also like the real life conversations that take place and the opportunities. Because to learn coding when you're 6, 7, 8 years old and be able to carry that through, like, they're in a way better position for career development.
That's awesome.
Oh, 100%.
And I mean, and let's keep it real, right? You got to make it fun for them, especially when it comes to the youth, because you could lose the attention of a 6 to 7 year old in the blink of an eye. So especially if you're engaging them in something that one they want to do, and then you're teaching them all the core aspects to it, especially the aspects that can lead to, you know, those workforce development or those jobs, et cetera, then it's a win-win all areas.
So when you guys aren't teaching them that, are you guys also teaching yourself? Because I know you guys are playing video games, and I'm thinking, there's no way I'm getting dominated by these kids. Like, I got to get on full status, you know what I mean?
Oh, you definitely got to keep your game up to par. It's like playing golf.
There's
You
a
gotta
lot of
play-
trash
you
talk.
Man, I'm telling you, I'm too competitive. I can't be walking around here all week and the 7-year-old and whoop me 3 times. I'm going to have to get my work, you know what I mean?
But then that's cool because you're engaging with the kids. So even
Oh,
if you do,
100%.
you know what I'm saying, end up whooping you out, you're going to continuously play them because you're competitive.
Right. I was
Now-
thinking about just unplugging his
You're
computer.
building that relationship and that rapport with the kid just by simply playing the game consistently with him that he might not get.
Yeah.
He or she might not get somewhere else.
Yeah, so when y'all see Sheriff McMahon, let him know, like, hey, AP and Big 12 need to play more video games.
We need to get our bars up.
y'all see
Job
Big
training.
12,
Job
Big
training.
12 and these drone pursuits, like, Big 12, go here.
Hey.
Yeah, but we take them through even like the FAA regulations.
Oh, really?
So they don't just get a drone and fly it. Like they learn FAA, they learn to build it. Every little screw, they program it, they bind it to the remote,
We might need to get our license, man.
everything.
Yeah, we're gonna
Yeah.
go.
Let's hang with Phil, man.
Yeah.
What's crazy is that, because I mean, even just because I be trying to teach my stuff because I'm not really too fluent in all the music production stuff, so that's where I spend a lot of my time.
Okay.
And I watch a lot of like CSI, some of the fake the shows, but it's just crazy because like even on the DJ table, so the new software, you can literally break down the sound waves. So you can literally take apart like literally the vocals away from all of the instruments. You can single out the drums. You can single out the bass. And I tell people all the time, like at least on the shows, I don't know if they got to do this in real life, how, you know, even when they do certain investigations, et cetera, especially when they're listening to sound, they literally take out some of the parts so that they can hear some of the other sounds clearly. So it's...
Oh, yeah, I tell you what, I seen that on TV too. You know, that ain't our
I'm like, that's it.
specialty.
I'm like, that's dope.
I'm sure that they do that because you can hear like different things going on in the background.
Yep.
You know what because even with our shot spotter, when shots go off, you can hear people screaming. You can hear if someone yells a name or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they have to be able to cut the shots away and then zoom in on that voice. You know, and make it clear. So I'm sure they do that, but Big 12 don't know.
Hey, Big
thought it
12.
was Big 12.
Big 12, hey, he gonna head back to headquarters, but hey, I got Pro Tools. I got this new little thing you can do right here. You know what I'm saying?
When I come to work now, I'm just gonna say, "Hey, put me in a booth."
That's dope.
It's funny because sometimes, and I've said this before and I've said this recorded, I can't find Philip. But I know if I come in here,
Yeah.
he's practicing something. And I remember like the first week I went back to my supervisor because video games are not my thing. And I was like, they are all at work playing games.
Crazy.
But we had a tournament and we needed to unlock all the content. We needed to unlock all the characters. So it was either have all the staff play these games or we were going to have to pay to unlock everything. And so literally all the kids from the neighborhood, we brought them all in.
That is
Any kid,
awesome.
any
Pay me.
staff we could find.
Pay me to
And
unlock
we
it.
were like, just play this game. And they played for hours because we needed it all unlocked for the tournament we had that weekend. And at one point, my son was like, Mommy, I don't want to play this game anymore because he was unlocking them so fast. We were moving him from one console to the next.
Oh, that's so dope.
And so he's like, but those are things that even in like, from a supervisor perspective, I'm like, why is everybody playing games? Like I walked in and like, is this what y'all do? And so reshaping your mind to understand like these are some of the things, like this is a wave of the future. Like we're here now. 100%. This isn't going to happen later. Like we're already here. Right. So the rest of us got to catch up.
Right.
So
You kind of sparked something with me, like, because you said you grew up here, you went to UNLV, played a bit of pro ball, but it's like transitioning to corporate America, right? Go out there and find a career, and you just now talking about like they at work actually like literally playing video games. That like never kind of matches up. If you out there playing video games at work, it's like, oh, we gotta get rid of this
Gotta
person.
get rid of him.
So it's like you said, it's a new wave, right? So how important is it for the youth to understand? It's like, yo, it's okay to go out there and get a 9 to 5 because it's like you might be doing things you had never had thought or expected that you'd be doing because it's like the new wave of like where we're going in society. So like how important is it to actually find a career and like even talk about a career in Parks and Recs because it's like I think what we're doing right now is awesome. I'm like,
Yeah.
everybody in this room, well, almost everybody in this room is actually getting paid to be right here just to have fun. And we're just talking about whatever we're talking about.
Yeah.
So can you guys kind of like expound on that?
I think it's extremely important for kids to learn skills in the things that they enjoy because especially now with all the technology, et cetera, that's going on, and the ability to just teach yourself whatever you want with like YouTube, with just information being at the palm of your hands, that if those kids or those youth learn skills that they like to do, that eventually when they do end up going into corporate America and working on the 9 to 5, those skills are going to translate into jobs that they like to do because they're those skills that they're good at and that they're, known for are probably going to be the jobs that they apply to because that's what the stuff that's going to be on their resume. That's going to be the stuff that they're fluent in. That's going to be the stuff that employers can acknowledge that they're probably good at. So by
go ahead.
doing so, you essentially put yourself in a position to set yourself up for a job that you probably will enjoy later down in life.
I'm gonna kumbaya for you. I know how much you love this, but it's even like the neighborhood that we're in is a black and brown community, and there's a lot of crime. There's kids that are parenting themselves. Not because they have bad parents, but they're just from a different walk of life. I've got kids whose parents work all the time, single parent households. Like they have to rely on systems and communities and centers and people like us to help get their kids through. And everything that we're doing in here, like it's so important to give those kids a chance because, and I was talking to one of the police officers last week. We did a jail tour with our mentorship kids, and I said, these are not Summerlin kids. And he's like, we have kids like this in Summerlin. But what I meant by that is, like my child is a Summerlin kid, right? I make sure if he wants to try it, he gets to try it. He's played every sport under the sun. I go to everything. He does piano lessons. He goes to, like, we're fortunate, we're not rich, but he goes to a private school. That's why I can only afford one kid. And, like, I make sure that he's going to have a good future. But some of the parents don't have the same resources.
Right.
And so it's not that they're bad parents or that their families are less than, but that's why these types of facilities belong in these types of communities. Right. Because if the kids that are in this community don't get the experiences that my resources can get my child in a different community, what comes of them?
Right.
Like they don't get an opportunity at those jobs because I can tell you that a child like mine is going to have all these skills that he's been developing since he was born, but a parent who doesn't have the structure, doesn't have the support system, won't be able to give their child. And I tell our staff all the time, like, even on their worst day, we can't turn those kids away.
Wow.
Because that's why we were put here. Like, we can't chase them away because if not, that's where somebody else grabs them.
Access.
And then it's that access. And we both grew up in that environment where, like I told y'all, I'm not from here.
Right.
I used to, and I've told my director this, I shared with you earlier, I used to manage Mirabelli. When I was a kid, my parents couldn't afford to put me in programs there. Right. And then I got to be the coordinator there. And it was like so shocking because as a kid, I would walk through and like ask to use the restroom or something like that. But my parents could not afford to put me in there. And so when I think about the kids here, I'm like, man, like you'd never know. Like that could be your next Parks and Rec professional. That could be your next wide receiver.
Right.
That could be your next police officer, special investigations team as they learn how to like isolate sounds. Like you just never know where those kids are going to end up. But buildings like this, skills like this is what's going to get them there.
100%. And that's why they always say it takes a village, which is truly what's going on here now, you know, because those kids, like you said, their parents are at work, you know, so it takes someone else who's truly passionate and someone else who truly cares to expose them to things that they normally wouldn't see to give them that better chance. And that's why we love the job that we do, and we're so passionate about it because we are both from the inner city and we know how easy it is to be slipped away and forgotten about, right? So we give all the attention that we can to those kids the same way that you guys do, and I think what you guys have here is so beautiful because we've been to a lot of different places around the city, and when I tell you we was mind blown coming into here, like we felt like little kids walking into here. I'm like, man, they got everything. They flying drones, playing the game. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of different ways I go home and beat my son on the game. But no, truly, this is a blessing, man, and this is a beautiful place to be. And for you folks out there who's interested, please bring your kids because this is the wave of the future. You jump on now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Something I want to talk about is kind of mindset, right? You talking about like how you were that kid that couldn't afford to actually go inside the facility that you one day manage, right? And I always say it's like our biggest impact in any culture is always leadership. So my thing is, what message would you give to your peers that you work with, supervisors or incoming new workers or employees until and it can be for law enforcement also, but like understanding is like beyond just getting a job, you have to have a heart for this also. You know, can you guys kind of go into detail as far as like how important it is to actually have a heart for what you do? Because it's like it's more than just saying, hey, like you said with parents, you can tell your kid to go run or go play video games, but if you're not out there spending time with them and managing it, same thing if you're a worker, if you're a police officer and you say, hey, I police my community, but you just taking everyone to jail, understand like, yo, it's more than just taking people to jail. It's like it's about building relationships. How important is it for people like us, I would say leaders of the community, since we serve our community or service other community, to actually see the kid like, yeah, he might be talking a lot or he might be getting on your nerves, but it's like it's something behind that to where it's like you might want to spend more time with him or give him the opportunity because maybe this is his only or this is her only opportunity to actually get this experience. So how important is that? Anyone can go.
I mean, traditionally speaking, right, especially if you're looking at any underserved community, traditionally you're either going to get, at least from my perspective, you're either going to get athletes, especially if they don't have access to, you know what I'm saying, particular programs.
Right.
Or you're going to get gang members because that's a sense of belonging, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I'm saying? So even just now, even when you talk about the whole athletic landscape and how just traditionally you get those athletes because that's essentially a way out. Right. So now even the game has even changed a little bit even more now because not only do you get the opportunity to play those athletics, but you can kind of broadcast yourself in a way, especially if you know or understand those ways because of the social medias, et cetera, et cetera. So it's kind of, especially, let's just say when I was growing up, right, we didn't have, social media was starting to grow, but if I was able to showcase some of the stuff on my YouTube and it be able to touch somebody across the country by just the click of a button, who knows what could have happened? You know what I'm saying? So just even the trajectory of people in those underserved communities is starting to change by just understanding that there's different ways to go about stuff. So it's a cool feeling coming from a community like that and being able to help a community like that because, you know what I'm saying, you were a part of it.
Right.
And now I can give them some of the knowledge that I wish that I had growing up because even though it shaped out okay for me, you know what I'm saying, it could have been a whole lot better. And if I can just shape out or help a person, especially somebody that may or has the opportunity, especially in the underserved community, to lean in the wrong direction, to lean in the right way and go about it, then that's what it's all about.
100%.
That's what you want. That's the love in the community that I've always felt. That's essentially why I went to UNLV because I had offers from other places, et cetera, but they showed me the most genuine love. You know what I'm saying? So it's in a community that's underserved, at least speaking from my opinion, you just want to belong to something.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? You want to feel a part of something. So that's, even when it came to playing sports from my age, you know what I'm saying? That was my teammates. You know what I'm saying? I'm a ride for them.
That's family.
We go exactly.
that's
We getting after it.
Yeah.
We going on trips and Pop Warner together. You know what I'm saying? I'm experiencing everything in life with these people around me, and I'm learning those traits or those qualities of a great human being through the sport. You know what I'm saying? I'm learning discipline. I'm learning all of these things. So I hold a whole lot of value in being able to give some of the information that I learned later to the kids now, so that they don't have to learn those lessons the hard way.
1,000%.
That's awesome.
I will say, I tell people all the time, like, if you're going into public service, any form of public service, you're never going to be a millionaire. So if your goal is to be a millionaire and to retire at 30, no form of public service government work is for you. But if you want to have purpose, and if you want to be rich in purpose, this is where you're going to find it. Because whether you're from a police officer perspective or a Parks and Rec perspective, you're going to change somebody's life at some point in your career if you're doing it right.
Yeah.
And so if your goal is to have meaning and purpose in your life, not to say that you can't find that in other industries, but this public service and looking out for other people, you've got to want to make a difference in somebody's life.
We work out of the detail of office community engagement. So obviously our job is community outreach. Now, what we do in outreach, that's just a broad term, right? It could be sports related. It could be just mentorship related. When we say mentorship, it could be youth. It could be with adults. So we work with the high schools, but we'll work with Hope for Prisons too, where we're dealing with people with inside the reentry part of society, coming from prison or from jail back into society. We deal with women. We deal with different cultural things, so it could be Black community, Hispanic community, mental health, addiction, or whatever. So when you talk about outreach, homelessness, we hit every aspect of outreach when it comes to law enforcement, right? The most important thing we could do is build trust within the community from law enforcement, right? Everyone knows, when you see a black and white or you see a tan uniform or blue or whatever uniform, you're always saying someone's in trouble, right?
Right.
And we want to change that perspective of saying, hey, when you see us as your friend. That's what Hope for Prison say, our friends, right? We're your friends to help serve, protect your community. And so that's our overall goal, is to say, hey, we're more than just someone taking someone to jail. We're someone here that's here to serve and protect the community in whatever ways or form, right? What we do right here is more proactive. We go out there, we interact before anything ever happens, right? So our roles might be they really don't do anything. It's no, we might save thousands of lives every single day. You just don't see it because nothing ever happened. So that's pretty much my explanation of what we do. You can kind of give your own terms.
Yeah, I mean, as you can tell from the way he was speaking, he's the senior officer here. I started off in COP, which is community oriented policing. It's more at the patrol level, and I did it right along with these guys at OCE, and I got to see what they were doing, because when I was in COP, I ran a mentorship, but you're also doing other things, you're going to help out the businesses, any problems in the community, you're trying to build bonds with the churches and everything like that. But when I rode with OCE and I seen what they were doing, which is something I'm truly passionate about, it was kind of like a no-brainer to apply for this position, because the main thing that I say we do is mentorships and we coach, and that right there is, I feel like I'm not even at work, because I know what it is to come from these communities, and I know what some of these kids are going through. You know what I mean? I myself, I won't share my whole story, but just small story short, I say I'm from Compton, right? I got a brother who's in prison doing 4 life sentences, right? I grew up in a heavy gang culture, and I had to learn to maneuver through that. And there was a couple people in my life who helped mentor me and point me in the right direction. And that's all I want to be for some of the youth, because I know if I didn't have that help, it was so easy to become what my brother did. You know, I could have became the next statistic, you know, but because people reach out to you or because people guide you or they put you in sports, right? Or like I told him the other day, I had a counselor in high school that I wish I could still say thank you to. He would pick me up from my house, which at the time I lived in Watts. He would pick me up from my house and take me to the fire to do the fire academy, the fire explorer program. And I remember thinking, like, man, I don't be no dang on firefighter, right? You know, and now I'm a cop. You know, I don't want to be a firefighter, but that was important because at the time I didn't understand what he was doing, but he's seen potential in me and he's seen the type of environment I come from. So he was just saying he's seen a kid who was a good kid but could easily be in a bad situation. And that's what most of the things that we go through, most of the kids that we encounter, they're really good kids at heart. They just in bad situations, you know, and it's up to us to really give a damn and to go out there and talk to these kids and mentor these kids and point them in the right directions. And not only that, especially with sports, man. Sports is like one of the biggest places where you can really mentor kids. So the fact that we also get to handle the sports side and we get to do the mentoring, that's the part that I love the most. That's not all we do, but that's what I love, you know. So that's the part I would speak on. Yeah.
When people come in and see us or engage with us, they like, you know what? They can really say, like, they really just like us. So, like, hey, because I know I've been in neighborhoods to where, you know, a kid might see me and he might be with his uncle just because I'm born and raised here. He might be like, man, you over there talk to police, man, you going to get us killed. He come up there and grab the kid and say, no, that's family right there. To where it's like, to understand it's like, yo, like, we look past that badge. We see a man behind that. And that's the biggest thing is, like, understanding, like, everyone's goal, especially with our interactions, right? The number one goal for everyone is just to go home.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? So where it's like, so when people understand that, whether it's a kid or an adult or whatever, to where it's like, yo, well, y'all did this, y'all did that. It's like, yo, that man's goal on each side was, or that woman's goal is to go home. To where it's like, now, okay, now you know, hey, when y'all interact with us, our goal is to go home. Because I'll be honest, everybody out there ain't out there trying to really write tickets, right? Everybody out there trying to really do a lot of paperwork. You know what I'm saying? It's just like we really want to just have a good time at work, learn different things, help as many people, because we're all in the helping business, right? Helping and serving. So it's like, hey, if you can see me just as a normal person, that's the most important thing, because now there's no fear right there, right? So when we walk in here and we all getting to learn each other, it's like, you know what? I just see AP, I just see Priscilla, you know what I'm saying? Or I just see Phillip, to where it's like, you know what I'm saying? I just see Big 12, you know, or Edwards, to where it's like, you know what? It's like, I don't even see that uniform or I don't see that T-shirt, to where it's like we can have a normal conversation. So now we say, hey, I was thinking about doing this stuff. We can really make it happen, because now we see we're building relationships. So now we see each other as family or community, to where it's like, we're past all that stuff, to where we can encourage kids like, yo, this is a great career to go into. Law enforcement is a dope career. Man. Like, I always say, if you're an athlete and you just going off of adrenaline sometimes, man, this is you get an adrenaline out, like, dump, like, every single day, you know, and, like, we're not even in the streets, but, like, coming in here is an adrenaline dump, like, to see everything, like he said, like, we were tripping off the garages going up, like, you see, like, we got to get this at home. It's like,
for sure.
It's so much is out there to where people just don't know. It's like, yo, come expose yourself to this, right? Expose yourself to law enforcement, right? Expose yourself to these community rec centers. Like, hey, parents, like, if you don't know what to do, like, it's people here that you can trust and bring them in here and let your kid learn and develop to where they can say, you know what, I was a part of the community. Because, like, a lot of people I know in this community I would have never have met if I didn't go to my local community centers, right? I would have never had, honestly, want to be a police officer if I never played football and went to college. You know what I'm saying? And those experiences kind of, you know, started just because, like, I wanted to do something, right? I wanted to kind of have that sense of belonging to something, to where now it took me to another place, to where it's like, yo, I can still be myself and be in law enforcement. You know, it's an awesome thing, you know. So that's my little two. For
sure. And I'm going to tell you how I got the name Big 12, too.
See, I told you to do the funny. That wasn't even a line.
Yeah, it is some meaning to it. So of course, during like the riots, who was
Which one?
Lose my mind.
You talking about George
Rodney
Floyd?
George Floyd.
Okay.
Rodney King, I was like 3, bro.
I'm
They call me
just throwing it out there.
I was out there stealing Jolly Ranchers.
No, but during the George Floyd riots, right, the nationwide, everybody, F12, F12, F12. I think it gets started in Atlanta. I don't really know what the meaning of the 12 is, but it stands for the police. I definitely know that part, right, because everywhere you go is F12. You come out on your patrol car, it'll be an F12, right? And that's what all the youth is saying, F12, F12. So I took it on myself to say, well, I am 12. I am a police officer. So I that's the first thing. I get that out the way immediately, right? So when I come to a classroom, people, they like, who's his name? I'm Big 12. They like, oh, he just gonna stand there. Yeah, I am the police, like, you know what I mean. But I'm gonna bring a different light to it, because then you're gonna see my personality. You're gonna see that I'm kind of just like you, but probably just flyer. You know what I'm saying? but no, real talk. You're gonna see the human face on that badge, and that's why I like to say Big 12, because I do take pride in being a police officer,
Most
and I take
definitely.
pride in being in my community. So I like to bring them both together every chance I get, and I'm always trying to recruit. You know what I mean? Because I know growing up, nobody thinks of becoming a police officer, but they don't understand how great of a career this is.
Yeah.
And who's better to police your community than you? Like,
Yep.
so hey, LVMPD. You know what I'm saying? What's the website? The hiring site.
LVMPD.com?
Yeah.
that
So
one.
go in there and get you a job real quick.
Yeah, go ahead there.
Let them know Big 12 sent
He
you.
said Big 12 sent you. Hey, he don't get no extra coins or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? He just out there trying to recruit for the department.
Yeah, man, maybe they will give me a coin or something.
I told you guys we took our kids on a jail tour last week. And we actually had kids that were like, when we were talking to them about the Explorer program, they're like, oh, I want to do that. Like, that's all me.
Right. That's
And
nice.
they had no idea that the Explorer program existed.
Yeah.
Exposure.
And the Explorer program is awesome. I actually used to be an advisor for the Explorer program. It's an awesome experience. I always say, like, we talk about youth programs and development. They develop you to be a police officer from pretty much 16 to 20, because that's when you can actually join in. And what the kids get to go through is exactly what we go through when we're going through our academy. You need to learn about, like, the amendments and how to apply them when it comes to law enforcement. You understand the 3 different ways of police contact and how they impact, whether it's consensual or it's a reasonable suspicion stop, or if it's a what's the other one? I can't even think of it. You see, I haven't been in the streets in a while. It starts with a P though.
That's crazy. I'm blank too. You're gonna have to cut that part out.
No, that's okay. Just rolling. But like it's 3 ways you can stop someone. And they get to learn that, but also they get to go on and do different competitions. So you learn on how to deal with an active shooter or a high
Probable cause. Sorry.
Right? Probable cause. So those are 3. 1 is consensual, reasonable suspicion, or probable cause, where you can stop someone. But like going through the process, like you get a uniform, right? You learn about being on time. You learn about how to come to work dressed properly, right? Having your police belt ready to go, having all your tools and materials on. You learn how to deal with whatever it's a domestic violence call or what do you call it? A call where you like an active shooter to where you're clearing a home and stuff like that, or you're following an assailant or whatever it may be, and then you get the opportunity to go on competitions and ride-alongs to where you see everything. So once you hit that 20, you turn 21, you can apply for the job. You're pretty much ready to go. You know, and that's the benefit of going through that Explorer program. You learn so much. It's a really awesome experience for the kids. Yeah.
Teaches a lot of discipline too.
Most
It takes
definitely.
a lot of discipline to do what y'all do.
Most definitely. You know what's so crazy? We say it takes a lot of discipline. I think it takes a lot of discipline just to be successful. Like, I think, at least I know for a fact, us 3 all play football to where it's like, you talking about discipline? I think every aspect of just playing football and playing sports is discipline, right? Because it's like nobody really wants to run that much.
Nah, not
You
at
know
all.
what I'm saying? And like nobody really wants to hit, you know, but it's like you got to break fears, right? Being in law enforcement. I mean, even you guys' career, you got to break a fear to actually go out there and just do an interview. Because that's not an easy thing to do, you know? So you got to break fears. You got to have confidence. You got to know how to communicate. You can't be easily offended. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how it is for you guys, but police officers, like you said, people say F12 is like we get every little thing in the book.
That's the starter.
You be like, man,
Always the reason for your bad day. I'm like, I don't even know what happened.
for real.
What got here?
Real. You know what I'm saying? Let me go into 7-Eleven and get you a Dr. Pepper, make you feel better.
For real.
But it's like it's you learn so much. Like I think the discipline is like that's why I think it's awesome to have rec centers. Like the discipline is actually learned through the process of life, right? Whether you're playing sports, you playing video games, you will never meet a gamer that's not disciplined in what they do, right? You gotta remember the steps. You gotta remember your failures. Failures is so important to learn, right? Because you go to the police academy, man.
Oh, yeah.
Like you getting yelled at everything. You gotta do definitions. You miss one word in your definition, you getting yelled at. You think like, man, did I mess up or did the tech officer mess up? Because
I came prepared to work out. 'Cause I was like, I know I'm gonna mess up today. Let's just get it.
get these push-ups, man. So I think like discipline is just a process of life, and I think if everyone learns that early, man, success becomes a lot easier. You know, that's it. You know.
That's true, man. Can't shy away from that discipline.
Most definitely.
Okay, so what is like the biggest piece of advice that you would leave an emerging like community leader?
A piece of advice I would leave an emerging community leader.
To actually know what's going on at ground level. It's always a disconnect, man. If you want to be a true community leader, you need to really be in the community. You need to know what's really going on. You need to know what's the topic, what's going on, what the kids like, what everybody's into. You need to actually get in the field. You can't be leading from the office. You got to get into the field. That's what I would promote heavily. No matter what genre you're in, no matter what your job is, you have to know what's going on the ground level, and you have to have that connection.
Most of. I would say I would start with the word gift, right? We all been born and blessed with a gift. And as the emerging community leader is that you had the opportunity to develop your gift over time. And as you developing your gift, you have to understand that gift was never for you. It was for you to give back. You know what I'm saying? So whatever your passion is, your passion was for you to develop it and make it hit the highest peak level of whatever it was, and then you give it back to your community. So understand the gift that you have is your job to give it back, because if you just leave it with you, it dies with you, and that purpose is what you talked about earlier was completely gone. So your gift is for you to give it back. It's not for you.
That was beautiful, man. That's Officer AP. Officer AP, always on point, always about principle. You know, that's what he does, man. Yeah.
You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah, my guy got it. That was beautiful, man. I might have to say that.
AP, always about principle.
So,
What advice would you give an emerging community leader?
Oh, it's all about the rapport, for sure. You can't elicit any message. You can't describe anything. You can't even really talk to anyone without building some type of rapport at first. Because, you know what I'm saying, you can have all the knowledge, all the gifts, et cetera, et cetera. If I don't, one, respect you, and then two, don't believe in what you're saying or have that personal connection with you, that's going to go one through one ear and out the other.
Yep.
So to be able to deliver that message, you got to be, like you said, be at the ground floor and being able to connect with the people that you're trying to protect, or the people that you're trying to communicate, or the people that you're trying to deliver whatever you're trying to deliver to. Talk to people, especially nowadays, because you never really know what people are going through.
Yeah.
Especially you hit home with something you were saying earlier on how even just in an underserved community, that kid may seem like he bad, or he may seem like he's a problem child, but he dealing with stuff that is not seen. You know what I'm saying? And if you can connect with him or her in that manner and tell them that you understand that from that perspective, what other message can you elicit to them?
For real. For real.
Well, and kids are naturally like good and pure, and like you see them laughing and smiling. Once they start getting hard, like life has made them that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm glad you said that. People need to hear that.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
They don't just come out that way. So, well, thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks for having us here. You know what I'm saying? It was fun, you know?
Yeah, this is a podcast. No, this is a conversation with family, you know, so this was great.
And it's crazy because these are the conversations that we all need to be having.
All the time.
All the time.
Most deaf. All the time.
So coming to a YouTube channel near you.
And we made the show without trying to make the show.